Gentlemen, let's have an honest conversation. Have you ever found yourself ignoring a woman, whether it's intentional or unintentional? Maybe you're frustrated, unsure how to respond, or just caught up in your own life. Whatever the reason, ignoring her might seem harmless, or even like a way to gain control of the situation, but it often carries far deeper consequences than you realize. To understand what happens when you ignore her, you first need to step into her shoes. Relationships thrive on communication and emotional connection, especially for women. When you ignore her, it can feel like you're cutting off that connection. To her, it's not just about the silence, it's about the meaning behind it. She might wonder, does he even care about me? Did I do something wrong? Why isn't he addressing what's on his mind? This emotional uncertainty can spiral into insecurity, frustration, or even resentment. She may start overanalyzing your actions, filling in the blanks with worst-case scenarios. Over time, this erodes trust because ignoring someone, whether it's through not replying to texts, being emotionally distant, or avoiding tough conversations, can feel like rejection. And rejection, even unspoken, cuts deep. Now let's be clear, space and boundaries are important in any relationship. Ignoring her to manipulate her emotions, play hard to get, or avoid accountability, however, is a different story. It sends the message that her feelings and the relationship are not your priority. This tactic might seem like it gives you the upper hand, but it's a short-term win that leads to long-term damage. If your goal is to build a healthy, lasting connection, ignoring her isn't the way. Instead, try honesty. If you need space, communicate that openly. If you're upset, express your feelings constructively. Ignoring only creates walls, but communication builds bridges. Remember, relationships are about partnership. When you ignore her, it's not just her feelings at stake. It's the foundation of trust, respect, and connection you're working to build. So next time you're tempted to go silent, ask yourself, am I addressing the problem or am I avoiding it? The way you handle that decision could define your relationship's future. 5 things we should know. This is how she feels. When you simply ignore her, she feels rejected and unimportant. Men, let's talk about something that often gets overlooked. How ignoring your partner can make her feel rejected and unimportant. While you might think staying silent or avoiding her is a way to deal with conflict or buy yourself some time, it sends a much deeper message, one she feels on an emotional level. When you ignore her, whether intentionally or because you're busy or distracted, it can feel like you're shutting her out of your world. Women often thrive on emotional connection, and communication is a big part of how they gauge their place in your life. So, when you go silent, it can feel like you're saying, "You don't matter to me right now." Even if your intention isn't to push her away, that's often how it comes across. She might start questioning herself, wondering if she did something wrong or if she's no longer a priority in your life. This can trigger feelings of rejection, like she's being dismissed, or that her efforts to connect with you aren't valued. Over time, these feelings can chip away at her confidence and the trust she has in your relationship. Think about it this way. When you're excited to share something with someone and they don't respond, it's disheartening, right? Now imagine that happening with someone you deeply care about. It stings even more. That's what she feels when you ignore her. It's not just about the lack of response, it's about what that silence symbolizes. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect or available 24/7. Life happens, and sometimes you're busy or need space. But the key is communication. If you're overwhelmed or not ready to talk, simply saying, "Hey, I need a little time to think," can go a long way. It reassures her that you're not dismissing her or the relationship. When you make her feel seen and valued, even during tough moments, you build trust and strengthen your connection. But ignoring her creates a void, one that can be hard to repair if left unchecked. So the next time you're tempted to stay silent, ask yourself, Am I handling this in a way that shows respect for her feelings and our relationship? Because making her feel important isn't just about grand gestures. It's in the little moments of acknowledgement and care. It creates emotional insecurity. Fellas, let's talk about what happens when you ignore your partner and how it creates emotional insecurity. You might not realize it, but silence can feel more powerful and painful than words. For many women, communication isn't just about exchanging information, it's about connection, reassurance, and emotional stability. When that communication breaks down, it can leave her feeling anxious and unsure about where she stands with you. Here's the thing. Ignoring her doesn't just mean not answering a text or avoiding a conversation. It's the emotional gap that silence creates. In that gap, her mind starts to fill in the blanks, often with worst-case scenarios. She might wonder, did I do something wrong? Is he mad at me? Does he still care? This overthinking can spiral quickly, leading to unnecessary stress and insecurity. From your perspective, you might think you're just taking time to process things or avoiding a fight. But to her, that lack of response can feel like a lack of care. Emotional insecurity isn't about her being needy or overly sensitive. It's about the uncertainty your silence creates. And let's be real, nobody feels good in a relationship where they're constantly guessing what the other person is thinking or feeling. When emotional insecurity sets in, it doesn't just stay in her mind, it can start to affect how she interacts with you. She might seem more withdrawn, or, on the flip side, she might start seeking constant reassurance. Neither of these is a sign of a healthy relationship. They're signs that the foundation of trust and stability is being shaken. But here's the good news, you can prevent this. Open, honest communication is the antidote to emotional insecurity. You don't have to have all the answers or be ready to fix everything on the spot. Sometimes, just letting her know where you're at, I need a little time to think about this, but I care about us and we'll talk soon, is enough to keep her grounded. Ignoring her might seem like the easier option in the moment, but it creates more problems down the road. A strong relationship isn't about avoiding conflict or tough conversations. It's about facing them together. When you show her that you're willing to stay present and connected, even during challenging times, you create emotional security, and that's what every healthy relationship needs. She might feel frustrated or resentful. Men, let's dive into another effect of ignoring your partner: frustration and resentment. While you might think staying silent is a way to avoid arguments or give yourself space, it often sends the wrong message. Over time, that silence can build tension, and instead of solving the problem, it creates new ones. When you ignore her, she might initially feel confused or worried about what's going on, but if the silence continues, those feelings can quickly turn into frustration. Why? Because she feels like her concerns, emotions, or the relationship itself are being dismissed. To her, it's as if you're saying, "I don't care enough to address this." Frustration arises when she feels unheard or unacknowledged. Relationships are about teamwork, and when one person opts out of communication, the other is left carrying the emotional load. Imagine how it feels to try to resolve an issue but constantly hit a wall. Eventually, patience runs out. Now let's talk about resentment. This doesn't happen immediately, it builds over time when frustration is left unaddressed. If you repeatedly ignore her or avoid important conversations, she might start to see your actions as a pattern. She might think, "Why should I keep putting in effort if he doesn't seem to care?" Resentment grows when she feels like the relationship isn't balanced, like she's giving more than she's receiving. The problem with frustration and resentment is that they don't stay hidden. They show up in subtle ways. She might become distant, start snapping at you over small things, or stop making an effort altogether. These aren't just random mood swings, they're signs of unresolved feelings stemming from your silence. Here's the fix. communicate, even when it's uncomfortable. If you're upset, say so. If you need space, let her know. Ignoring her might seem like a way to avoid conflict, but it often creates bigger issues that are harder to repair. Remember, frustration and resentment aren't about her being difficult, they're about unmet emotional needs. When you choose to address her feelings instead of ignoring them, you show her that she and the relationship matter to you. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present. And that effort can make all the difference in building a healthy, lasting connection. It undermines trust in the relationship. Gentlemen, trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship. It's what keeps two people connected through good times and bad. But when you ignore your partner, whether it's by avoiding conversations, staying silent during conflict, or dismissing her feelings, you're slowly chipping away at that trust. Let's talk about why this happens and how it can affect your relationship. When you ignore her, she's left in the dark about what you're thinking or feeling. This lack of communication creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is the enemy of trust. She might start to wonder, why won't he talk to me? Is he hiding something? Does he not care about me or the relationship anymore? These unanswered questions can make her doubt not only you, but also the connection you share. Trust is built on consistency and openness. When you're responsive and willing to communicate, even during tough times, it reassures her that she can rely on you, but ignoring her sends the opposite message, that you're not fully invested in resolving issues or maintaining the relationship. Over time, this behavior can make her feel like the relationship isn't a safe or secure space, leading to emotional distance. Think about it this way. Trust isn't just about big promises or grand gestures. It's reinforced in the small, everyday moments, like answering her text, listening to her concerns, or showing up when she needs you. Ignoring her undermines these moments and creates cracks in the foundation of your relationship. If this pattern continues, she might start to question your intentions and reliability. This isn't just about her feeling hurt, it's about her losing confidence in the partnership. And when trust is broken, rebuilding it takes time and effort. So, how can you prevent this? Communicate even when it's uncomfortable. If you're upset, say so. If you need space, explain why and reassure her that it's not about avoiding her. Being honest doesn't mean you have to have all the answers. It just shows that you respect her enough to include her in the process. Ignoring her might feel like an easy way out, but it's not. It sends a message that erodes trust and damages the connection you're trying to build. By choosing communication over silence, you show her that you're someone she can count on, and that's what trust is all about. She wants communication, not perfection. Guys, here's something important to understand about women and relationships. She doesn't expect you to have all the answers or be perfect. What she truly values is communication. When things get tough, or even in the day-to-day, it's not about you saying the right thing. It's about showing up, being present, and letting her know you care. Too often, men feel pressure to have it all figured out before talking to their partner. You might think, if I don't have a solution, what's the point of saying anything? Or maybe you're worried about saying the wrong thing and making things worse. But here's the truth. Silence is what makes things worse. She'd rather hear your honest thoughts, even if they're messy, than feel ignored or shut out. When you don't communicate, it leaves a void, and that void gets filled with doubt. She might start to think, why isn't he talking to me? Does he care? Is something wrong? This uncertainty can lead to frustration and hurt because, for her, it's not about perfection, it's about effort. Women value connection, and communication is how that connection is maintained. It doesn't have to be deep, poetic, or perfect. Men, relationships thrive on connection, and communication is the lifeline that keeps that connection strong. Ignoring your partner, whether it's during conflict, in everyday interactions, or because you don't know what to say, can unintentionally create feelings of rejection, insecurity, frustration, and even resentment. Over time, these emotions erode trust, making it harder to build a healthy and lasting relationship. The truth is, she doesn't expect you to have all the answers or to handle everything perfectly. What she truly wants is to feel heard, valued, and included in what's going on with you. Silence, no matter the intention behind it, often sends the wrong message. It makes her feel distant from you. The solution is simple: communicate. Even when it's uncomfortable or you don't have everything figured out, showing her that you're willing to talk and work through things together is what matters most. Relationships aren't about avoiding conflict or being flawless. They're about showing up, making an effort, and facing challenges as a team. When you choose communication over silence, you're not just solving problems, you're building trust, strengthening your bond, and showing her that she truly matters to you. And that's what makes a relationship thrive.